Hello everyone, this is the Urbana Project Ignition team, sponsored by our wonderful sponsors, Ms. Judy Weber-Jones and Mr. Nathan Watson. My name is Banan Garado and I'm a senior at Urbana High School. And here is our Project Ignition team.
My name is Frankie Mainble and I'm a senior at Urbana High School.
My name is Fozia Garada and I'm a junior at Urbana High School.
My name is Park Mitchell and I'm a junior at Urbana High School. All right, the first question we ask is who are we? What are we trying to do? Well, our goal with Project Ignition is to educate our community and beyond about safe and intelligent driving. And I think something that clearly illustrates this is our mission statement. At Urbana Project Ignition, our mission is to save lives by promoting seatbelt usage and eliminating both distracted and reckless driving. This statement provides a focused approach for us and tells us exactly what we are doing. We recently created a website that shows a variety of photos and videos and links for the community to learn about safe driving and see what we have done. It's a perfect representation of our past, our present, and where we're going in the future. Now, this presentation today has been split up into 3 parts. The first part is what we have done. I think that one's a little bit obvious. It's the things that we've done during our time here at Project Ignition. The second one is things we are going to do. These are things in the future and things, sadly, because of COVID-19, that we were not able to accomplish this past year. And third is the different accomplishments and different safety messages that we put out over the years. So I think I'm done here and I'll pass it off to my colleague, Frankie.
Hi, my name is Frankie Mainble and today I'm going to present what Project Ignition at Urbana has done over the past 3 years. One of the events we've done is the Duct seatbelt awareness. It consisted of many members of our group putting on duct tape around their torso during the school day to promote the use of seatbelts among teen drivers and eliminate distracted driving. And we've also promoted the use of seatbelts because it is the safest way to protect ourselves while driving. Additionally, the seatbelt quick click challenge is an event we put together during the morning in spring morning, where we had 4 students divided in each group rotating around a vehicle. They each got to be drivers, and we did this as a fun way to implement safe driving among teen drivers. And the fastest group received an incentive of $5 and the first place medal to display that accomplishment. We attended the Parkland College open house, and one of the events featured there was the distracted driving simulator. Students, especially teenagers and other college students, got the opportunity to really simulate what it was like to drive while texting, and they were able to realize the difficulty and the dangers of doing so. We handed out safety messages during this open house, and it was also important because it was Distracted Driving Awareness Month in April. Another feature event at the open house was the rollover. We had crash dummies placed in a rotating car, and the car was going to be rolled over at a 35 mile per hour speed. and the audience got the opportunity to observe the results of crash dummies being placed in the car without a seatbelt and the dangers of that activity, not wearing a seatbelt. And they also included the crash dummies being buckled with a seatbelt, and the results were outstanding because it demonstrated the importance of wearing a seatbelt and safety belts in a vehicle because the dummies weren't as injured compared to the first simulation. We've done seatbelt checks at our school, specifically 3 over the 2019 and 2020 year, where we monitored people who were being dropped off at the beginning of the school morning, and we noticed that the majority of drivers follow the Illinois law requiring people to wear seatbelts, while those who were sitting at the back seat weren't following that rule. So that's one area we plan on targeting in the future, really raising awareness of wearing the seatbelts. Even if you're not the one driving, you can still be in danger in case of an accident while sitting in the back seat. After students finish their driver's ed education at Urbana High School, we distribute a few items to still promote and continue to educate them, because driving safely is lifelong learning, and I just feel like as Project Ignition feels like it shouldn't really stop after finishing driver's ed at Urbana High School. One of the items we give is an AAA self-flip bag, which prevents noises from being heard whenever we're driving, which keeps the person not distracted whenever they're driving and promotes safety driving. We also give out an Operation Lifesaver keychain to promote railroad safety, because in the Urbana-Champaign community, we're surrounded with a bunch of railroad tracks, and it's really an important issue. We also give out the Andy Pilgrim Traffic Safety Foundation videos to, like I said, continue the education of safety driving. A phone box is another feature found in the driver's ed room at Urbana High School, and it constitutes of installing your phone in a phone box at the beginning of class to really promote the good safety driving habits within the student population learning to drive, and students are more knowledgeable about on the road and have the opportunity to gain habits of putting their phone away whenever they're driving. And students only get their phones at the end of class. The prom poster featured on this picture, pre-COVID, we had many upperclassmen who were planning on attending prom, which eventually got canceled. But we got their signatures, and they promised to do 4 things during that night, which were to not drive, to not drink alcohol or take drugs, to not drive impaired, to not let a friend drive impaired, and to finally make a promise to their parents that they would get home. And these are really important issues within the Urbana-Champaign community, because we've actually had accidents during prom night of students not getting home after this wonderful celebration. Over the years, we've had many guest speakers come speak at Urbana High School. One of them is Dr. Kelly Barber Connerty, and she taught us about the importance of keeping a low speed and wearing a seatbelt and being careful on a gravel country road, because of the experience of losing our daughter due to speeding and failing to wear a seatbelt. Also, we've had Jody Curtis, an American employee, that taught us the driver students had to be safe around a down power line, which is really something many students don't have the opportunity to learn even in a classroom setting. So it was really good to have a guest speaker come speak about that. We also had Danny Hicks, who suffered a spinal injury himself, and due to not practicing safe driving. And finally, Jackson Huddlestone, an operation lifesaver who explained how to be safe and aware of railroads. Finally, we're going to be showcasing an interview we did with Julie Dixon, which she is a UHS administrator and vice principal. And she's going to be talking about how lack of sleep impaired the abilities of her son to drive, which eventually got him in a car accident.
My name is Julie Blixen. I am the assistant principal at Urbana High School for student engagement. I have 3 teenage sons who are 15, 17, and 19. They are 2/3 of them are driving, so this having Project Ignition here at Urbana High School is very important to me because the students here are the same age as my students, and knowing just the dangers that can happen behind the wheel and why it is so important for high schoolers to be safe when they're behind the wheel. I've experienced that firsthand with my own personal children. So I'm really excited that Urbana has Project Ignition to spread the word about vehicle safety, not texting and driving, wearing your seatbelt, making sure you're doing all the things that you're supposed to be doing while you're driving, paying attention to the road. I just am really glad that we have this program here and wish that they had it at more schools.
Can you expand further on the personal story you've had in relation to the dangers of driving?
Absolutely. Just over a year ago, on February 15th, 2020, I was getting up to go visit my dad in the hospital, and I got a call from the Champaign County Sheriff. My son, he was 18 at the time. He had stayed up all night playing video games and was driving tired. As we know, that is one of the things you are not supposed to do. So on February 15th, 2020, my 18-year-old son was driving tired. He had stayed up all night and decided to go to the gas station to get a Polar Pop. He was driving north on Staley Road and crossed over the center line as he fell asleep behind the wheel and drove underneath the back 2 wheels of a tanker truck that was headed to fill up with gas at the corner of Staley and Springfield. The tanker truck was empty, and the first responders that got to him said that that is the only reason why my son is still alive. The truck, the small SUV that I had, went under the back 2 wheels. It ripped the engine out and knocked the car into the ditch. The entire driver's side was crashed in. My son had his seatbelt on, and that's what saved his life. He ended up with a really nasty concussion, 3 staples in his head and a broken finger, and that was all. And when you see the damage caused by the accident, you'll be surprised that that's the only thing that happened. But I credit him wearing his seatbelt to saving his life.
I'm so sorry for what happened, and I'm so grateful that your son is doing okay. If I could elaborate, what was your first reaction to getting that phone call?
My heart dropped, and I just thought he had to be very seriously injured. Driving to the hospital, I passed a police officer on the way. I don't know how I didn't get pulled over because I was kind of, that's another thing you shouldn't do is drive when you're upset. I should have called someone to drive me to the hospital. But at that moment, all I was thinking was I need to get to see my son and make sure that he is, yes, still alive. And, they assured me he was, but until I saw it for myself.
Yeah, and knowing that, driving accidents is the #1 killer of teens, how does that sort of, put into perspective or prioritize the need for more, safe driving habits?
I think it's really important, especially as the mom of 3 teenage boys, and even such things as driving with the music too loud, that can become a distraction, or with your friends in the car, they can become a distraction. Just anytime my boys take the car out, I worry, and I probably will always worry. I think my mom probably still worries about me, but even though I'm in my 40s. So I just think it's really important and have really tried to show them and be a model for them of what good driving is: staying off your phone, keeping the music at an acceptable level, not trying to do other things while you're driving, like eat or put your makeup on, or, you know, obviously not obviously, but my boys don't put makeup on. But things like that can distract your driving.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for, getting it out there in hopes to encourage more safe driving habits, and we really appreciate your time.
And we plan to present him with a Saved by the Bell Club award for doing the right thing.
Great, thank you.
During COVID-19, although we haven't been able to have in-person meetings, we've had infographics and a bunch of our videos sent through emails about our safety messages, encouraging students to drive smart and intelligently on the road. Next up, I'm going to have one of my other colleagues informing you guys about what we're going to do in the future, and she's really going to talk about what we have, our next plans, our next steps after this.
So what we're going to do? Well, we're going to be doing even more local and national outreach. So we'll be continuing sending emails to our whole student body, Urbana student body, on safety messages and best safety practices for driving via school-wide emails, Google Classrooms, and even individual pings to get on that personal level. As well, we will also be gauging on the national level students and school districts from Georgia, across Georgia, and specifically Decatur, Georgia, or Calhoun, Georgia, and even going beyond to Alaska and Palmer, Alaska, and Eugene, Oregon, to be able to truly get our message of protective driving habits beyond the boundaries of our community. As well, we will partner with the Red Cross or Student Red Cross organization, specifically Oregon, to be able to combine safety tips and practices for best safe driving habits with the Red Cross to be able to create a culture of safe and protective habits, especially when driving. We'll also be providing some resources to our to students, such as the traffic stop. And so to the right is a picture which, if you click on it, will direct you to this resource. Explaining the resource is, we have, you're a member of the Illinois State Police Department demonstrating how to properly act during a traffic stop pullover, making sure not to have any sudden movements, having your ID as a proof of insurance, and be ready and, of course, be courteous.
Hello, my name is Trooper Bridget Rice. Today, I would like to go over what you should do in case you get stopped by the police. As you can see, we're inside, so use your imaginations and think that this violator was stopped for speeding. Good evening, sir. My name is Trooper Bridget Rice. I'm with the Illinois State Police. I was conducting a speed detail and I noticed that you were going 59 miles per hour in a 50-mile-per-hour zone. Is there any reason why you were going so fast?
No, officer.
All right, sir. Do you have your driver's license and your proof of insurance?
Yes, may I reach for it?
Absolutely.
Here's my driver's license.
Thank you.
Here's my proof of insurance.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Your insurance card is valid. Let me give that back to you.
Thank you.
Now, have you been stopped recently?
No, officer.
All right, sir. I'm going to run your driver's license. If you haven't been stopped, I'm just going to issue a warning tonight, okay? All right, I'll be with you in a moment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ecker, here's your driver's license back. And I just issued you a warning today, okay? Now, there's no follow-up required with the warning, but there is, certain things that we need to do, and one of those things is slow down while we're driving, all right?
Yes, officer.
I really appreciate your wearing your seatbelt, and I appreciate your being so courteous. So thank you very much, and you have a good night.
Thank you. You
You're
too.
welcome. Now, what you just witnessed was a traffic stop, all right? That is typically what an officer does when we stop you. Now, Bryce was very good about wearing his seatbelt, keeping his hands on the wheel, looking straight ahead, and not making any furtive movements. Now, furtive movements are those things that maybe you're reaching for your purse, or you're reaching for your drink or your phone or something like that. When you're stopped by a police officer, please keep your hands on the wheel. In a situation where it's a low light situation or an evening situation or a nighttime situation, you can turn your flashers on to let the officer know that you acknowledge him or her when you're stopping. Turn your flashers on and pull over safely, preferably on the shoulder, on the right side of the roadway, and the officer can approach safely. Don't be surprised, however, if the officer approaches from the passenger side. While I'm talking about the passenger, Bryce is 16 years old. How many passengers is he allowed to have? Under the graduated driver's licensing laws, 1 passenger. He has Delaney with him. Delaney should be buckled up as well. It's the law in Illinois for all of the passengers in the vehicle to be buckled up. Additionally, Bryce was very courteous during the traffic stop. He asked if he could reach for his driver's license. He asked if he could reach for his insurance card. These are all things that we recommend as police officers because, again, it's the hands that can hurt us. We need to see what you're doing with your hands. It's very important to comply with the police officer's requests, simply because by virtue of the traffic stop, you are being detained simply because you committed a violation. When that violation is committed, that's when we have the probable cause to stop the vehicle. On the side of the road is not the time to dispute your ticket or your warning. You are given ample opportunity in court to plead your case in front of the judge. If an officer asks you to sign the ticket, signing the ticket is not an admission of guilt. It is an admission that you have, in fact, received a copy of the citation. So these are things that we in the Illinois State Police and law enforcement around the country ask you to do. We appreciate your compliance, and we want you to drive safely and get to your destinations in one piece. Thank you.
And here we have the Seatbelt Convincer. Again, if you click on this picture, it will redirect you to the correct link. And this video showcases an event we planned with the Illinois State Trooper Police. And it was meant to simulate a low-impact 5 to 10 miles per hour vehicle collision to stress the importance of wearing a seatbelt.
Hi, I'm Trooper Haley Palestina with the Illinois State Police, and today we're going to demonstrate our Seatbelt Convincer. The Seatbelt Convincer demonstrates what it feels like to be in a motor vehicle accident while you're traveling approximately 5 to 7 miles per hour. This doesn't seem very fast, but when you hit the impact, it does. Motor vehicle accidents are the leading cause of death in teens. If you're wearing your seatbelt, the chances of survival go up 47%. That's why it's important to put on your seatbelt every single time you get into the vehicle. On the job, I've witnessed firsthand someone that's not wearing their seatbelt and become ejected from the vehicle. they died on scene, while the other driver, who was wearing their seatbelt, survived. Today, we're going to have Delaney ride the Seatbelt Convincer. She's going to experience what it's like to be in a motor vehicle collision while she's traveling 5 to 7 miles per hour. When you're involved in a motor vehicle accident, your car comes to a stop when it hits another object or a vehicle. Your body then takes on that momentum and will hit the dashboard with that force if you're not wearing your seatbelt. To calculate this crash force, you take your body weight times how fast you're traveling. Say you weigh 175 pounds and you're traveling 65 miles per hour. That's over 11,000 pounds of force that hits the dashboard. Very scary. If you're a backseat passenger in a vehicle and you choose not to wear your seatbelt, you not only affect yourself, but you affect the other passengers in the vehicle. You can become ejected and hit the other passengers in the vehicle, injuring them or possibly even killing them. Not only do you need to worry about wearing your seatbelt in the vehicle, you need to worry about loose objects in your car. Something as light as a box of tissues could come flying and hit you and cause an injury. Delaney, how was your crash?
Oh, it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. The impact was a lot more than I thought it was going to be. So.
It didn't feel like it was only 5 to 7 miles per hour?
No, it felt a lot more than that. So.
Could you imagine if you're on the interstate traveling at 70 miles per hour?
Yeah, that would be really scary.
Earlier we talked about crash force. So when your vehicle hits another object, in this case, this stationary Suburban, the back of this vehicle lifted up and took on that force of the trailer. And then your body took on that momentum and it moved forward. Mm-hmm. Pretty scary, huh?
Oh yeah, definitely.
If you were in a real collision, your vehicle could go right underneath this Suburban.
Yeah, I would be very scared of that. So.
Extremely scary,
Oh
right?
yeah, yep.
Delaney, could you imagine what it would be like if you weren't wearing your seatbelt?
Absolutely not. I think it's very important to wear your seatbelt every time you get into the car.
Delaney's right. That's the first thing you should do when you get in the vehicle. Wear your seatbelt every time. It'll save your life.
And over here, we have the Golf Fatal Vision Goggles. Again, if you click on this picture, it will redirect you. The interactive program consists of students driving golf courts around a cone-filled obstacle course wearing fatal vision goggles to be able to stimulate intoxicated driving.
Driving under the influence is one of the leading causes of crashes in teens. Driving under the influence is more than just driving under the influence of alcohol. It's driving under the influence of drugs, medical marijuana, or even prescription pills that can impair your driving. Driving impaired is also driving when drowsy. Drowsy driving is just as dangerous as driving under the influence of alcohol. In Illinois, the legal limit is 0.08, but if you're under 21, the legal limit is 0. Any trace amount of alcohol can impair you and you'll receive a DUI for that. Today, we're going to do a demonstration with Bryce. He'll be driving a golf cart through a driving course wearing drunk goggles. Bryce's vision will be as if he's impaired under the influence of alcohol. Let's see how he does.
I have no idea if I'm even in here at all.
You just hit Grandma's mailbox.
Probably.
You're off the roadway.
I can't see.
Failure to reduce speed to avoid a crash. Sir, I think you're impaired.
Let's talk about buzz driving. Driving under the influence of any amount in your system is dangerous. It affects your reaction times, your vision, and your coordination. If you're driving while buzzed and you're approaching an intersection and someone walks out in front of you, you're likely not going to be able to stop in time. That's why it's extremely dangerous. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
And over here we have motorcycle safety. Again, click on this link and it'll redirect you. It's an Illinois State Police officer going in depth about how to stay safe, especially while riding a motorcycle.
Hi, I'm Sergeant Joey Watson. I serve the Illinois State Police as a motorcycle officer, and today we're going to talk about motorcycle safety and how I can keep myself safe on the road and how you guys can help me stay safe on the road. So let's start out by talking about the differences in protection. If you look at this vehicle, it's just your average four-door vehicle. What are you thinking about whenever you think safety equipment that keeps you safe inside of that vehicle? What are you guys thinking?
Probably airbags.
Airbags, right? What else? Seatbelts. Yeah. So those are the common things that we think of. What else is in there? Did you realize that there are crumple zones inside of this vehicle? Your car is designed to wad up and absorb energy and take it through the frame, through the top of the vehicle, and the important part where you're sitting is hopefully left unscathed, right? That's kind of a cool technology that you didn't even realize may or may not have been there. And all of that is born and bred in the racetrack, NASCAR, IndyCar. They'll take a car and plow it into a wall at 100 miles an hour, and the driver will get out and shake it off. Wow. Neat stuff, right? Yeah, it's kind of cool. How many of those does a motorcycle have? None, right? So when it rains, like, it gets really hard for us to see, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. How many of those does a motorcycle have? One, right? And it's kind of small and dim, right? So it's very hard for us to see at night. Take a look at the dashes of old. You guys are a little bit too young to remember cars like this, but back in the day, all of the dashes were made of metal. Steel, pressed steel. How would you like to hit your head on that, right? Not so much, right? I'm good, right? Yeah. Oh, you've got your cigarette lighter sticking off the dash here, 2 inches, waiting for your eyeball, right? You've got this stick that's got a steering wheel wrapped around it. There's nothing collapsible about that. So when we were dying in crashes back in the day, it was medieval style, like they were sticking that pole in their chest. It was awful. So we've come a long way in our interior design alone. We've got padded dashes, recessed flush mount knobs. We've got gear shift levers that are swept away from us instead of pointing back at us. Just in the interior design, we've come a long way with cars. Analog braking system, you can't even get a vehicle now without an ABS system. You can't go to the dealership and say, I don't want to save that money. It doesn't happen. ABS is going to come standard with it. So let's go over to the motorcycle side. Not much there, right? Here's what the average dash looks like on an American-made motorcycle. Is there anything padded or recessed or flush mount about that? No, right? Not at all. Yeah, and as you think about it, whenever we get in a crash, if you think about the shape of a motorcycle tank, it's basically kind of like a ramp, isn't it? Yeah, so when we get in a crash on a motorcycle like this, think about it. When the car turns left in front of us, a body in motion stays in motion until acted upon by an outside source, right? You guys have learned that in school. It's Newton's laws of motion. We're going to go forward. So when we slam into the side of that vehicle and we go forward, we're going to go up the tank, aren't we? And it's not going to feel nice, is it, right? Yeah, so, and there's nothing padded or recessed or flush mount, and that bar up there at the top, it's not going to give you a hug as you go through it, is it? No, it's going to hurt. Where's that motorcycle at? Where's it at? Find it. Where's it at? Oh my gosh, right? Why is it so hard to see us in traffic? Why do you think that is?
It's smaller.
Because we're a lot smaller, right? What about our headlight? Is it very bright? It's kind of small and dim, right? So it's very hard for you to see us. Well, here we are in the upper left-hand corner. So because of that, we call it kind of it's almost like an urban camouflage if you think about it. You guys have seen the deer on the side of the road, right? So the deer comes out on the side of the road, and if they're moving, they're not hard to see, right? But if they're stationary, they blend into the background, don't they?
Yep.
So I get it. This is a stationary picture, so it's hard to see us.
Yeah.
But even in moving situations, when we come up to the intersection, we glance over, and the next thing you know, we disappear into the background. That's what's happening. When you glance and glance, it's basically a still frame. There's nothing moving about it, right? So that's why it's important to look twice at an intersection. And I'll come back to that point, so remember that one. That's a good one. The analog braking system, that's a $1,000 option if it's available on the bike that you want. Not all bikes have it. It's getting better, but not all of them have it. Now look at this. Do we have windshield wipers?
No.
No, right? So when it rains, the best I've got a little seam on the side of my glove, and right? That's all I got. Right? So it's very hard for me to see in the rain. And I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. Check out this video. This is cool. This is the one and only motorcycle in the entire industry that has this. And why would you want that? To keep you on the bike, right? So that you don't go up the tank, right? So that's what it does. But this is a $2,500 option, and it's only available on that motorcycle. So if you don't like that one, you're out of luck. Yeah. So the Dionysi company, the Italians, they said, oh, we're going to solve this for the masses. Yay, airbag suit. Woo! Yeah, right. How many of your parents run around in racing leathers, right? Like, nobody's going to have that either except on a racetrack. So going back to this slide, if you're sitting there thinking, you know, Sergeant Watson, I think you're the coolest dude on the planet, and I want to be just like you. Like, you guys are thinking that, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, right? So if you're sitting there thinking, I want a motorcycle, how do you keep yourself safe? Like, we looked at the car, and it's built into the car. You know, for the low price of $45,923, it's built in. But when you go to the dealership for a motorcycle, how do you keep yourself safe there? What are your ideas? Like, how do you keep yourself safe on a bike?
Obviously a helmet.
Helmet, boots, gloves, like some of the equipment that you see me. I'll show that to you after a while. There's some stuff available. So is he ready for the ride?
No.
Or this non-DOT approved Viking helmet, right? Not so much, right? Or are they ready for the ride?
Oh, yeah.
They're ready for the ride, right? So if you're sitting there thinking, Sergeant Watson, I think you're awesome, and I want to be just like you when I grow up, I want to ride a motorcycle. Dude, I love having my knees in the breeze, but you got to bring it with you. You got to put it on. You got to get it out of the closet and put it on. So that's how you keep yourself safe on a bike. Now, let's move on a little bit farther. So you got your differences in protection. Let me stress this to you, because you're sitting there saying, Sergeant Watson, you know, I think I don't want anything to do with motorcycles. Like, they kind of scare me. Like, they're kind of creepy. That's okay. Like, if four-wheelers are your thing, like, I got something for you too, right? Your fender bender is my personal injury or fatal crash. And you're sitting there like, what does that mean? Your fender bender is my personal injury or fatal crash. Think about it. When we get in a car crash, motorcycle versus car, right? It's a fender bender for the most part to you guys because you've got the steel roll cage wrapped around you. For me, though, all I've got on is what I've got to protect me. Oh, right. So there's a big difference in the types of protection. So let's take a look. Have you guys ever been in a car versus deer crash? Anybody ever? You guys been in one of those? No? Lucky you, right? It happens. Think about those crashes, though. They're generally kind of fender benders, aren't they? Right? Like, nobody usually goes to the hospital like you usually drive the car home. Usually. I've handled thousands of these. That's usually how it goes. So let's talk about a motorcycle versus deer crash. And you're sitting there looking at that bike going, that doesn't look that bad. That's a $14,000 motorcycle. It's totaled.
Oh, wow.
What caused the crash? Do you see it?
Yeah. All that deer hair.
There it is right there.
Yep.
There's the cause of the crash. One screwed up coat, one screwed up pair of pants, one screwed up pair of gloves, one helmet complete with a gouge where the rider's head hit the pavement. By the way, this helmet sits on a shelf and reminds that rider, hey, genius, glad you had your helmet on today because today would have changed your life. One screwed up knee, one screwed up elbow, complete with 4 stitches and a scar to prove it. There it is.
Oh, wow.
That was my crash. I spent about 4 hours in the ER sucking my thumb in the fetal position because, dude, this little fender bender sucked. It hurt, like it hurt bad. It hurt for days after that. It hurt. Your little fender bender is a big deal to me. So how do we work with each other on the roadway, right? And that's what we're getting to. How does this apply to you guys as newly licensed drivers? You're getting ready to jump on a car. You're getting ready to take out on the roadway. There are other things that you need to start paying attention to, and little small populations that are very vulnerable, such as pedestrians, wheelchair operators, motorcyclists. Those are all very vulnerable populations in traffic, and so you really need to start paying attention to those. All right, so how does this apply to you? This is how it applies to you. When you're coming up to the intersection, you've really got to pay attention at those intersections.
How close does a biker have to be before you see them? Here. Here. Or here. At a junction, look, then look again. Think, take
It's
longer
kind of
to
that
look
light
for
bulb
bikes.
moment, isn't it, right? So you break the urban camouflage by looking twice at those intersections. And you've seen it all the time, like you turn around at the intersection, you look once, and off you go. That's where you've got to look twice, because it breaks that camouflage and it lets you see us. You don't have to be, like Albert Einstein to see something move in traffic, right? Oh, geez, something moved, right? So, yeah, just pay attention, especially at the intersections. And some of the things that distract our attention away from doing that, my favorite down here in the lower right-hand corner, like everybody has their phone, suction cup to the windshield, right? So now the thing that is guiding you down the roadway is prohibiting you from seeing it. Right? And I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. It's kind of crazy. And road rage, like, you know how this is, right? Get out of the way! I see you over there, right? And then people cutting you off. Well, what's happening is when a motorcycle is involved in traffic and you guys are frustrated inside of your car, you're not paying attention to your lane changes. And that's what's happening. What's the proper way to do a lane change? Do you guys know?
You have to.
Yeah, you got to physically look over your shoulder, right? So you clear the lane, you clear your blind spots by looking over your shoulder, and then the next thing you know, you change into the next lane with your turn signal, right? But you're mad, right? So you just jerk into the other lane and you cut people off, and motorcycles, again, are getting cut off in traffic. So that's why it's really important to pay attention to those lane changes. This is that slide I've been promising you. This is what it looks like with rain just on the windshield of the motorcycle. Now I'll add in on top of that a helmet covered in water and a windshield covered in water. Dude, I can't see you. You've got to turn on your headlights. You guys know what the law says. Whenever the windshield wipers come on, what has to come with it?
The headlights.
The headlights, right? This is why. So at least I'll have a white blob and a red blob. I can't see you otherwise. If you're darked out, I'm not going to be able to see you. So that's why that law exists, is so that we can see you. Okay? All right, stuff hanging from the rearview mirror. This is your GPS. This is your tree hanging from the rearview mirror, right? And this is your girlfriend's garter, right? If your high school graduation tassel, if you make it, right? And this is all the stuff that we put up there on our rearview mirrors. Now take a look. My 950-pound touring motorcycle, complete with my big old butt, wearing my chartreuse don't hit me jacket and my full face helmet, just disappeared behind your girlfriend's garter, your fuzzy dice, whatever else you got up there. So you've got to take that stuff down. You've got to be able to see through the windshield, okay? That's why that law exists. All right, anybody have a friend with a big bucket head? She's like, yeah, he's sitting next to me, right? You come to the intersection, dude, lean your melon back, right? You got to be able to clear the intersection when you come up to dude, move your pumpkin out of the way, right? So if you're the passenger, make sure that you're leaning back at those intersections and letting your driver clear through the intersection. All right. And of course, disobedience to traffic laws is a huge deal to us. Motorcyclist has a green light, car driver has a red light, distracted, looks up at the last second. Oh, dude, remember, your fender bender is our personal injury or fatal crash. I don't want to be there. You don't want me there because you don't want your car torn up, right? Look how torn up this car is off of that fender bender. Do you think your insurance agent's going to be happy with you? Well, yeah, he is, actually, because they're going to raise your rates, right? So it's not a good situation. You don't want me there. I don't want to be there. So how do we get along with each other on the roadway? By paying attention, putting your distractions down, paying attention to the Illinois Vehicle Code. So to wrap up with motorcycle safety, basically the things that you need to remember are, if you're interested in motorcycling, get it out of the closet and put it on. Boots, helmets, gloves, some sort of eye protection, something to keep your arms and your legs safe from impact. If you've got some sort of leather, skid, and abrasion protection. For the car driver, make sure that you're paying attention to your lane changes and especially the intersections, because that's really where the meat and potatoes of motorcycle safety is people miss motorcycles at those interchanges because they're not breaking that urban camouflage. Make sure that you look twice when you come to those intersections. It'll break that camouflage, make it safer for you, and make it safer for the rider.
And this is construction safety. So if you click on this link, it'll tell you more about how to stay safe, and Illinois State Police officers specifically explaining how to be safe during a work zone site.
All right, let's talk about work zone safety. I-57 is under construction all the time right now, isn't it? yeah, it's kind of annoying. And we see this stuff. Like this next slide is actually a dash cam inside of a semi. Watch this. What are you looking for a construction zone? Watch what happens here. What did he miss?
Just slow down.
He did. He missed the construction sign letting him know that there was slow traffic ahead. Did you see what he was doing just prior to the crash?
Yeah, he was looking up at his visor.
He was looking inside of the vehicle. And everybody says, oh, cell phones are bad. And they say, this is against the law. But is this the only problem we have with distraction? No. It's not, is it? Is it against the law for you to change the radio station?
No.
Is it against the law for you to reach into the floorboard where you dropped your jujubes? No, right? It's not against the law, but is it a dumb choice?
Yeah.
Yes, and so that's what we really want to pay attention to. The construction zones is minimizing the dumb choices because there are a lot of different people's lives at stakes. When you look at construction zone safety, it averages only 5 workers per year. And you're like, wait a minute, Sergeant Watson, like that doesn't make sense to me. Who dies in construction zones? What are your thoughts? Who are the people that are dying in construction zones?
The workers.
That's what everybody says, right? And that's what I thought too. So when I gathered these statistics, I was like, that is not right. How is that possible? But it is. And here it is in orange and blue for you to take a look at. The drivers and pedestrians are actually the people that are passing through account for 95% of the people that are dying in construction zones. Oh, wow. I know, right? I didn't think that either. Like I was like, oh no, it's always the workers. No, they only account for 5%. Yeah, it's the people that are passing through, it's us. So moving that concept forward, how is it that we have to drive 24/7, 365 through a construction zone marked at 55 miles an hour? We'll come there, right? Because that's really the bread and butter. The construction zone isn't set up necessarily for us or for the construction workers. It's set up for us, isn't it? We'll get there. All right.
A highway work zone is a dangerous place. Construction and maintenance workers put their lives on the line every day, often working just an arm length away from traffic moving 50 to 60 miles an hour. Signs are put up, cones are placed, and flaggers direct traffic, but highway workers live with the knowledge that death and injury could be a heartbeat away.
That's kind of creepy, isn't it?
Yeah. Close.
That was close.
Minivan hit our crash attenuator, shot across the median, across westbound traffic into the field out north of the interstate. When we finally got up to the driver, he just said he wasn't paying attention. We had all our lights going, but he just said he wasn't paying attention.
This is a local case study. This happened on I-57. You guys know where West Frankfort is, right? Right. This is about a mile north of West Frankfort. This is I-57 northbound. Have you ever seen these trailers that are on the back of an IDOT vehicle? It's called a crash attenuator. They run about $10,000 a piece, right? So quite a bit of money just for the trailer alone. And what it does is it absorbs energy. So when a vehicle hits it, like has happened here, it absorbs the energy and keeps the energy from going into the IDOT vehicle and saving lives, right? Mm-hmm. So the IDOT worker doesn't get injured. It also absorbs energy out of the crash so that the person driving doesn't get as much energy absorbed into their body, right? So great piece of equipment, but they're expensive, right? So we've now hit it with a 2000 and I think it was a 14 GMC Yukon Denali. Like this thing had everything. Like it had power nose wipe. Like you pushed a button and this arm came in. You guys believe this, right? Okay, never mind. It's a nice vehicle though. It is about a $70,000 vehicle. So we've plowed into the back of this thing and you know what happened here? So we've got, I'll back up a slide here. We've got this arrow board. They're in the left-hand lane and they're moving traffic over into the right-hand lane. But what type of construction zone is this? Do you guys see the hint? And I'll point it out here. What is that? What are they doing? Let me help you out a little bit more. This is March. Late March, early April. That vehicle right there is laying hot patch. They're fixing potholes because of the winter, right? So this is a moving construction zone. And I show this to let you know all construction zones aren't stationary behind a concrete wall. right? Some of them move down the road, right? So this is kind of important to make sure that you understand. So what happened in this case, GMC Yukon Denali, $70,000 truck, slams into the back of the crash attenuator. So now we've got about $80,000 worth of damage, right? So the insurance agent's happy, right? So we've plowed in, we've got injuries to the vehicle, and we've got injuries to the driver. The IDOT worker is thankfully fine, but the problem, the whole problem, you know what caused this problem?
Distracted driving.
Yeah, distracted.
Cell phone. Yeah, and what was worse, going back here, this was the first vehicle. Second vehicle, way down here, there was actually a third vehicle, and he had gone around it and went back to his cell phone and struck the second vehicle in the line. Yeah, so he was distracted. So let's go over to Illinois 154. This is over on Wren Lake. You guys know where the water goes across the water over on Wren Lake. Yep. Same type of situation. They've slammed into the back of it. This time it was a Chevrolet Malibu. Wow. Totaled, gone, right? Same thing, exact same thing. How do you hit a big orange truck with yellow flashy lights? How does that even happen?
Very distracted.
Very distracted, and that's exactly what happened in both of these instances. All right, so let's talk about some of the work zone laws. When you come into a construction zone, do you have to pay attention to the speed limit?
Yes, definitely.
When?
When it's posted.
Oh, wait a minute. Now, when it's posted at 3 o'clock in the morning. Do you still have to pay attention to the speed limit sign?
Oh, yeah.
There's nobody there. Like, you're the only person on the road. Why do you have to pay attention to the speed limit sign?
Because there could be equipment now.
Ah, very good. Rock on. Had a girl. All right, so they didn't pick up their stuff, did they? They didn't put all the holes back together. They didn't put all the bridges back together in one day, did they? They left all of their equipment out there. They've got all these barrels, all these lane shifts, pavement differentials, right? So all of that stuff is still out there. That's why you've got to pay attention to the speed limit sign 24/7, 365, even if they're at home in bed dreaming about Bambi, dreaming about Disney, whatever it is they're dreaming about. They don't care what you're doing in their construction zone, but it's set up for you, isn't it? Remember, 95% of the people that die in construction zones are the people passing through it, not the workers. And this is really the meat and potatoes of why. Because they didn't take all this stuff down. So it's for you and the workers, yes, but it's mostly for you. They do not need to be present. You're exactly right. Great job with that. And also, you have to yield to authorized emergency vehicles or construction vehicles. Does this sound kind of familiar? Have you guys ever heard of this law? What is that? What is that law? Yield to stationary authorized emergency vehicles. Does that sound like the Scots law or the move over law?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. So let's talk about who are the 5 parties that are protected by Scots law. Actually, 6.
Firefighter.
Pick me, right? Police, fire, right? So we got police, fire. Who else?
EMS.
EMS, very good. What's another one?
Construction.
Right. So we got police, fire, EMS, construction. And what's the last one? This is the one that nobody ever gets. This one's the hard one. Think yellow flashy lights. I'll give you another hint. Think I'm broke down.
Oh, like tow vehicle.
Tow truck. Very good. So police, fire, EMS, construction, tow truck, and also they changed the law. So if you break down on the side of the road, say you've got a flat tire. You've got a flat tire on the driver's side of your vehicle and you're on the right shoulder and people are blowing by your booty at like 70 miles an hour. Would you like them to move over? Yeah, right. That's why you turn on your 4-way emergency flashers, and this law now applies to you. It's called the move over law. So it's also known as Scott's law because of Lieutenant Scott Gillen. He's up in Chicago. He died whenever a vehicle blew through his emergency scene and pinned him against a fire truck. So that's why that law exists, is to protect the emergency workers. And now you're getting to benefit from it. Coolio, right? All right. And even Fred Bird's on board with this. Like, everybody's on board with this. All right. So last thing, you got to pay attention to the flagger. How would you like to have the job where you're the chicken in Crossy Road, right? Think about it. Think about standing there with that flag and having to dodge traffic because they're not paying attention. That's basically what the job of a flagger is. So this is an official sign. She's giving you direction in a construction zone because she knows what's going on back here and you don't. So she's trying to help you get through that. Does IDOT want you to fail in a construction zone? No, dude, there's a mountain of paperwork with this, right? They don't want you to fail. They want you to successfully negotiate that scene So they're going to give you everything you need to do to get through that scene successfully. All you got to do is read it and pay attention, right? So 2 keys really in a construction zone. A little work zone humor. All right, so moving on with the construction laws. Can you drive down the roadway at 16 years old talking on a cell phone? No. Can you at 18 years old drive down the roadway talking on a cell phone?
I don't believe so. Is that where the cutoff is?
Oh, come on. Oh, I thought you were going. I thought you were on it here. Can you at 18 years old drive down the roadway talking on a cell phone? Yes. How?
Through
Bluetooth, wireless, hands-free connected, right? So you can do this. What are the 2 locations you cannot do that?
In a construction.
Construction and?
Would it be school zone?
Very good. Rock on, yeah. Yep, construction and school zone. Now, who is the one person you can talk to in those 2 locations?
EMS.
Yeah, 911 operator, right? Not your girlfriend about your OMG moment, like a 911 operator, right? So those are the distracted driving laws. But let me ask you, is this actually the problem?
No.
No, it's not, is it? The act of picking up a cell phone isn't the problem. And in fact, they've done studies on cell phones. It's not about picking up the phone. It's more about the conversation that is occurring. Let me call you up. So I'll call you up. We'll have a conversation. Now you, on the other end of this, you are Bluetooth, hands-free connected. You're over 18. You're not in a construction zone. You're in compliance with the law, right? You're good to go.
Right.
I'm going to call you up. Hey, what's for supper tonight? Like that, how much did that take out of you? Like nothing. Like we have chicken every night of the world, so how many ways can you cook it? Okay, thanks. I'll talk to you later. I hang up, I call back in about 10, 15 minutes. Now I'm gonna call you back and we're gonna have a little bit more serious conversation. I'm gonna call you back and say, hey, I don't love you anymore, right? So what did that do to your heart, right? I'm gonna call you back and say, hey, I'm pregnant. Whoa! You're gonna crash, right? Like it's like things. Your mind is going 1,000 miles an hour, and it's not even going 60, right? You're driving down the interstate, but you have no ability to keep your mind on the focused task, and that's really the issue. Is it's not about the act of the cell phone. It's about what the conversation has taken out of us. So, like we were talking a second ago, there's apps for that, right? They got an app for that. They got an app for everything, right? So. Tell the app, hey, when I get above XYZ number of miles per hour, I want you to go ahead and disable the functionality of the phone, and I'm good to go. It'll answer it automatically for me. It'll get me where I'm going. I'll get the text, and then I can answer them and take care of business. So it's about a choice, isn't it? That's really the key, is it's about a choice. Distracted driving is about a choice. All right, so obviously you can't make phone calls. You guys don't email, right? No, like who emails anymore? That's nothing, right? What about texting? Oh, now we're getting a little closer, right? Oh, now we're getting there. Snapchat, Instagram, like social media, right? Like, oh, look at me, I'm in a construction zone, looking all cool, right? No. Push the red light on that one. If you're on your phone, you're wrong in a construction zone or a school zone, unless it's an absolute emergency. And the only people you can really talk to at that point are the 911 operator, okay? All right, so where does the construction zone begin? If you see these signs right here, these are the enforcement signs, right? So you've seen warning signs way back here, like 3 miles out and like a mile out and a half mile out. And now you've seen this one right here, these 2 enforcement signs. If you were to draw an imaginary line between those 2 signs, that's where your construction zone officially begins and you're held accountable for the speed. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit of a trade secret here, right? So in your driver's ed, if you remember, it actually has a 500-foot grace period inside of a regular speed zone. You guys remember this, right? On a construction zone or a school zone, there is no grace period. You are held accountable for that speed at that sign. There's no 500 feet past that. There's no oozing into the zone, right? So that's where you're held accountable for that speed. All right, so let's talk about the combined efforts of IDOT and ISP. They partner with us and they say, hey, we need you to go out and keep the people in the construction zone safe. Oh, all right, I'm all about it. Let's go do this, right? So how do we do that? We write speeding tickets, unfortunately. Do I like writing speeding tickets? Heck no, I hate it, right? I hate writing speeding tickets. But what I know about speeding tickets is it changes driving behavior. Is that a good thing?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to change driving behavior because people's lives are at stake. So when they're focused on the road, when they're paying attention to the speed laws, when they're focused on their lane changes, they're driving better, less people are injured in crashes. So it makes a difference, but I don't like it still, okay? So we also have photo vans. Have you guys ever seen one of these photo vans? Whoa, kind of sneaky, right? So what's this thing taking a picture of?
It's going to take a picture of your license plate.
Yes, smile and wave. Don't have your phone in your hand, right? It's going to take a picture of your face. It's also going to take a picture of the back plate. And what are they going to do with that evidence?
They're going to look at it and they're going to mail you a ticket.
Oh, they're going to mail you a ticket. What's the first one for? How much?
Is it like at least $375?
Oh, very good. Very good. The first offense, $375. So that's, wait, isn't that about the cost of a PlayStation?
That's a lot, yeah.
Whoa, right? Puts it in perspective for your age group, doesn't it? It's a lot of money. So the first offense is $375. What's the second one? You guys know it? $1,000 for the second offense, driving in a construction zone. Yeah, so it's like 2.5 PlayStations. It's a lot of money, isn't it? Yeah, it's a lot of money. So yes, that's what they're going to do, is they're going to send a ticket in the mail to you. All right, so we're going to be paying attention in the construction zones. We're going to be enforcing the laws, but we also want you, again, to successfully succeed. So we're going to provide you all kinds of different signs that tell you what you need to do. They've even got active signs that tell you how fast you're going. Huh? That's kind of cool, right? Yeah, really neat improvement, and you don't want the frowny face, right? You don't want the sad face, right? So pay attention to the signs. If you see that sign down there in the lower right-hand corner, what are you going to do? I'm going to get off the interstate, right? Do you want to wait 40 minutes in traffic? No. You come up to that sign and on down the road about a quarter mile, there's an exit. Wouldn't that be a good opportunity, right, to find a different route? Ask Google or Siri, hey, can you reroute me around this construction zone? Yeah, it's going to save you time. It's going to save you frustration. So if you see this, they've got these signs out there. Take advantage of them. They're giving you cues, and they're making it easier for you to navigate the roadway safely. And of course, yep, that's me up there writing a ticket to a minivan driver, like a mom in a minivan. You're like, well, Sergeant Watson, that's kind of jerky, right? Well, I changed her driving behavior, and that's really the important part. I don't like writing that ticket, but at the end of the day, by writing that ticket, it changes the driving behavior, and now we have a safer roadway for everybody. So it's a good thing, okay? All right, you were right, nailed it on the head, $375. We talked about the $1,000 already, good to go. But they're also going to suspend your driver's license, right? There's potential for $10,000 fine, time in jail, like it's bad stuff, right? So don't mess around in construction zones. They are going to suspend the driver's license for speeding, failure to yield, proceed with due caution in construction zones. Like there's a lot of penalties and a lot of enforcement out there. You want to make sure and pay attention. All right, obviously causing a crash is going to be a bad thing. So to conclude, let's take a look at this thing. Always pay attention to your surroundings. Put down the cell phone. You see orange, man, drop it and drive. Pay attention, right? You need to be doing that all the time, but this is really where it becomes critical because it's not just about you at that point. There's people that are in these construction zones, like for instance, if I had a construction zone, I've got 2 kids and a wife at home, right? I want to go home to them. I want to make good decisions about what I'm doing behind the barrel. I'm hoping you guys are making good decisions about what you're doing on the other side of the barrel, right?
Right.
All right, so pay attention. Make sure you're paying attention to the speed limit, whether they're present or not. Slow down. Don't use your cell phone. We already covered that one. And again, a little work zone humor. Somebody hacked the board, but that's kind of funny, right? and this is really what it's all about. You know, when I go home at the end of the day, Maggie is my daughter. She's 9 years old. It does not matter what Maggie is doing. Maggie stops what she's doing, and she runs full force, and Maggie's a little bit... She's my sturdy girl. Like she comes in, she runs full force, bam! She crashes into me and gives me a big old hug. Glad you made it home from work today, Dad. That's what it's really all about, is making sure that we're protecting the people on the roadway that we're sharing it with.
Right.
You guys got any questions?
So have you ever wrecked your bike on duty?
Now, I've never wrecked the state police motorcycle, but I have been in crashes on my personal motorcycle. You saw the deer versus motorcycle. Right. That was on a personal bike. I've actually struck 2 deer with 2 different motorcycles. So yeah, I unfortunately have had. But the thing about it is I realize because of what I do and what I teach, there's a certain level of personal protective equipment that I never go without. When you see me on the road, I promise you, I will make this promise to you personally. I'll look you in the eye and I swear it to you. You will see me with padded jacket, padded pants, gloves, eye protection, a helmet, and you'll see me with some sort of tall boot every time. I guarantee it. That's just how I ride. So I've realized that there are dangers out there, and I try to mitigate that risk as best as I can by using the proper protective equipment, because it's not on the bike like we talked about. It's got to be brought out of the closet and put on my body, and I'm responsible for that. So I make good choices to keep myself safe. Now the question is, are you going to make good choices on the road?
I have a question. Do the same rules for a motorcycle apply to a scooter?
So licensing requirements for a scooter are different. With a scooter, they're 50 cc's, and anything 50 cc and under, it's actually 49 cc. Anything 49 cc and under does not require a specialized license. For the L class, they say on a motorcycle, it's that 50 up to 150 that requires an L classification on your driver's license, and it requires a special test. For 150 and above, it requires an M classification, and that's, again, is tested through the Secretary of State. Gotcha. So that's the rules for licensing, but think about it from the safety perspective. With the laws for eye protection, for foot pegs, and all of the other stuff that are required on motorcycles, it doesn't matter whether it's a 50 cc or whether it's a 1,000 cc. They all have to have the same equipment. Now let's go back to the issue of the choice of your protective equipment. You often see scooter riders with a baseball cap and flip-flops on. Is that a good choice?
No.
But is it against the law?
No.
It's not, right? So a lot of issues on the roadway can be solved by making better choices. The law is the minimum standard that you should be paying attention to. You should be making choices that put you in that next category where you're a defensive driver, because that's the holy grail of driving safety, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Where you're taking personal responsibility for your actions, and you're making yourself safer and also making other people safer by making choices that not only impact you and your safety, but all of the other roadway users as well. So that's really the holy grail, is that defensive driving posture on the roadway. So did that answer your question?
Yes.
Awesome. So to wrap up with construction zone safety and work zone safety, basically the things that you need to remember: put down the distractions. Make sure you're paying attention on the roadway. If you see orange, slow down, reduce your speed, start focusing on the roadway and the surroundings around you, and also pay attention to what other drivers are doing, again, to make that as a defensive driver, because that, again, is the holy grail.
And here we have some future events planned. Specifically engaging with our Urbana City, we'll be presenting at the Urbana School District Board on May 4th, advocating for and putting on the table the importance of safety and project ignition to growing our Urbana community. As well, we will be featured on our local news stations, WCIA and the News Gazette, to be able to continue promoting the importance of protective driving to our community, to benefit our community on the importance and the necessity for safe driving. We'll also be presenting at the ADTSEA conference and the NSSP conference as well. Now I'll pass it on to our next team member presenting on safety messages and recognition.
So I'm Fauziya, and I'll be presenting on safety messages and recognition, which is kind of what we've done to get the word out about driving safe. So here we have students at Urbana High School who had the highest safe driving scores, and we awarded them an award to recognize their efforts and their practices of safe driving. We also are planning to give out bags and water bottles with the Project Ignition logo to student athletes to spread the word to the Urbana High School student body about safe driving, about Project Ignition, what we do, and to make sure to remind them to practice safe driving habits. We also have hallway posters, which we received because of being a top 20 team nationally for 3 consecutive years. And we have these posters in the hallway to further spread the message of what we do, our team, and our mission to our students in the hallways. We also have a student-produced infographic we created that we are planning to put up on a billboard, which is a catchy way of encouraging driving safely, to encourage people driving on the highway to make sure that they are driving safely. We also here have other posters and infographics that have really shocking statistics so that the viewer can see them and really realize how important it is to make sure to drive safely, to be paying attention, and to practice safe driving habits. We also have t-shirts with Project Ignition logo so that when we walk around school, we are spreading the message of our team, and so we can talk about what we do to other people seeing our shirt and our logo. We were also recognized in the IHSCDEA Idea Journal. This is the Illinois High School and College Drivers Education Association, which was created to recognize programs and people and initiatives that are encouraging safe driving habits, and we were recognized for our efforts. Also, here we have Jonathan Warhover. He was recently involved in a crash where police on the scene saw him and said that if he hadn't been wearing a seatbelt, he would have suffered a severe injury or possibly even death. And so he was selected to be recognized by the National Highway Traffic Safety Association as well as the Illinois Department of Traffic to receive the Saved by the Belt Award. And we also wanted to highlight his inspiring story locally as well. So we also awarded him the Project Ignition Saved by the Safety Belt Award. And we also spread the message of his story so that other students could see just how important it is to make sure to wear your seatbelt at all times in the car. We also conducted an interview with Mr. Waller, who is the Urbana High School athletics department head. And he talked about his views on Project Ignition and how it has impacted the community.
Good afternoon. My name is Steve Waller. I'm the athletic director, assistant principal at Urbana High School. This is my 6th year in my current role and 23rd year overall here at the high school. I'm also the administrator that oversees the Urbana High School Driver's Ed program. And I wanted to just briefly chat about one of our groups that run through our Driver's Ed program called Project Ignition. This is a completely student and staff-led group. Staff consists of Mr. Nathan Watson and Miss Judy Weber-Jones, and students range anywhere from 12 to 15-ish students. They have done a tremendous job of promoting the safety and responsibility of responsible and safe driving through not only our kids here in our building, but also statewide. In fact, they have received several state recognition awards as a group. We also received different grants for money that help fund their program, and they do just a fantastic job of communicating out what safe and responsible driving looks like for young adults, particularly teenagers that are just starting out and have to make crucial decisions, not only behind the wheel, but before they even get in the car. So this is all the kudos belongs to the students and the 2 staff members that lead this. As an administration, we fully support them and we accommodate any needs that they have thus far and moving forward. So just want to congratulate them and keep up the great job, and continue to be an advocate for safe driving throughout the state and with our kids here at Urbana High School. Thank you.
And lastly, we want to give a huge shout out and thank you to our partners.
Thank you for listening. We hope this has been an informative presentation presented by the Urbana Project Ignition team.